The message sits there. Delivered. Read. No reply. You check it again, as if the words might change. They don't. Somewhere in your chest, something tightens. Not because a message went unanswered, but because it feels, for a moment, like proof of something larger. That you don't matter. That you've been quietly written out. You know it's just a phone. You know it's just one night, one group photo you weren't in, one silence where a reply should be. And yet the feeling that rises is disproportionate to the moment. Why does something so small feel like it costs so much? To understand that, we have to leave this room, this phone, this glowing screen, and walk toward a much older kind of light. Picture a fire, small and steady, the only light from miles in a darkness that has no edges. Around it, a handful of people. Their faces are familiar in a way that modern faces rarely are. Seen every day, known in detail, trusted or not trusted, based on years of shared meals and shared danger. Food is passed hand to hand. Someone tells a story the others have heard before, but they listen anyway, because listening is part of belonging. We can imagine in many small interdependent groups like this, a moment that would have felt unremarkable and yet quietly seismic. Someone is told not to come back. No ceremony, no cruelty even, perhaps just a decision made for the group's survival. But for the person walking away from the firelight, everything changes at once. No one to share the night watch. No one to notice if the cold gets too deep or the food runs out or an injury goes untreated. In that world, distance from the group was not a small social inconvenience. For people living in such conditions, isolation could mean carrying every risk alone. And there was no guarantee alone was enough. This is the part of the past that doesn't leave clean fossils or ruins. It leaves something else instead. A pattern, still running quietly in the people who came after. Research suggests that when people experience social rejection, the brain can involve some of the same systems that respond to physical pain. Not identically, not as a perfect overlap, but enough that a real ache can follow a purely social wound. This may help explain something strange. Why being excluded doesn't just disappoint you, it can genuinely hurt. For early humans, this overlap may have been useful. A pain signal is hard to ignore. It demands attention right away. If exclusion had felt like a minor shrug, it might not have been urgent enough to fix. But because it felt like a wound, it pushed people to repair the connection quickly, to apologize, to return, to belong again. So when your chest tightens after being ignored, when you feel the sudden urge to check your phone one more time, when you quietly replay a conversation looking for the exact place it went wrong, this may be that same old alarm. Still working. Still convinced the stakes are as high as they once were. Look at how many places this shows up now. A friend group makes plans in a chat, and somehow you're the only one not tagged. You tell yourself it's nothing. But your eyes keep drifting back to the messages, scanning for a reason, a clue, a way to read yourself back in. At work, a decision gets made in a meeting you weren't invited to. Nothing was said about you directly. Still, some part of you starts sorting through recent conversations, searching for the moment you might have been quietly moved outside the circle. Online, you post something you were a little proud of, and it disappears into silence while someone else's post fills with attention. You know it doesn't measure anything real. And still, some part of you keeps refreshing. Your friends meet for dinner. You find out after. No one meant harm by it, but the old part of your mind doesn't ask about intentions. It only registers the shape of the moment. Others together, you apart. None of these moments are actually about starvation or exposure or nights without protection. But the mind reacting to them may not be evaluating the moment in front of you at all. It may be reacting to the old signal it thinks the moment contains. When rejection feels unbearable, it isn't because you're weak or overly sensitive or broken in some way. It may be because you carry a mind shaped over a long stretch of human history to notice every sign of being pushed toward the edge of the group. That mind is not wrong to care. It simply doesn't always know the difference between a canceled plan and a night alone in the dark. The feeling is real. But it isn't always an accurate map of the danger in front of you. Somewhere, that fire is still burning, not outside you, but inside. And every time you feel yourself drifting toward its edge, some ancient part of you still turns, quietly, to check how close you are to the light.